Well, good evening and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And welcome to our town council members for the first time are with us in person at our hybrid meeting. We're grateful and see how this all goes. So roll call, please. And we have Martha Punisaka remotely, deputy town clerk. So go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Feldman,
Present.
Councilmember Manicchio,
Here.
Councilmember Meyer,
Present.
Councilmember Fields to Will,
Here.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
I'm here.
We have a public hearing on the draft comprehensive plan.
So tonight we are reopening the public hearing on our draft comprehensive plan, Sustainable Ossining. This is our second public hearing on the plan, and it will certainly not be our last, as we await comment on the plan from the Westchester County Department of Planning and a revised draft of the plan from our consultants in response to the comments we have received from the public thus far. As a reminder, this public hearing is not meant to be a discussion or back and forth with the board. Instead, it's an opportunity for the board to hear comments from the public. For those members of the public appearing in person, we have asked you to complete the sign-up sheet if you would like to speak. And our friends on Zoom, please raise your virtual hand. If you're appearing virtually, we will go back and forth between in-person and virtual attendees. When you do have an opportunity to speak, please state your name and address or affiliation. You will have 4 minutes to address the board. With that, is there anybody either here or there who would like to address the board? And we'll start in person with Jeffrey.
What do I do?
You're gonna come to up here to, I don't even know, to this podium over here, yes. And you'll have an opportunity to speak with us.
Hi, everybody. Here we are in person. It's amazing. So thank you for this time on the public hearing. And as you guys know, and maybe we hopefully can explain to a lot of people, I don't think know how big this draft is. 167 pages. So I don't claim to have read all of it. I got through half of it. I think everybody who's worked hard on it, everybody who's had their hand in it, all the meetings I'm sure that have happened on it.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt for a second?
Oh.
Can you just introduce yourself? and say
I'm
where
so
you-
sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Kim Jeffrey, and I live in the unincorporated town at 100 Morningside Drive.
Thanks.
So this actually directly affects, I'm a resident and a constituent of this area. I saw a lot of things, a lot of good things, a lot of interesting things. And I see that people are trying to work in the ideas that they got from the community over time. I will note, and I did send an email, but I don't know whether you got it because I think you guys are having trouble with the email, that a lot of this work was done, and it says it even here, with issues having to do with COVID. The whole entirety of this was done over a pandemic. And so I think the more you guys have the ability to reach out and let more people know, I'm not sure how much of the community knows that this draft is out. And the more you might be able to maybe take the snippets of it and educate people, because I just don't know how many people are going to slog through this. It's a lot. I note that the overall theme that from the people who answered the survey is they really want open space. And the next thing they want after that is connectivity of the open space, which I think is going to be a little bit difficult because I saw in here that one of the suggestions was to look at cul-de-sacs and paper roads. And I think honestly, that might be a non-starter. I don't know how many people are going to want to blast through their cul-de-sacs or their paper roads, nor how much money that would cost in order to do that. Because as you have seen with the McCarthy Road, how things can go when you take on roads. The other thing is they note in here that there's a kind of tension between the overriding theme of wanting open space and keeping the quality of the community with evidently some conversation about equity and affordability in general. I don't know if it's just housing or in general. I think taxes is always a thing, but
You have 1 minute left.
okay. And that's why it's hard, because it's so big and I don't really know how we get to talk about it. But I just want to be clear that I'm concerned about cluster, because I know that we've seen some of the developments who wanted to do cluster as if that was the answer, and it was still overdevelopment. There's a question about resources. I think we still need to talk about that. I did recently see housing that had 3 apartments in it that was a house. We have a few of those around, and I saw it in another neighborhood, and maybe that's something we could talk about in general in terms of thoughts. Executive Boulevard is one of those places they talk about being able to reimagine, and I think that's a good idea. We're done. All right, I'm going to have to, I get email or whatever, it's hard. This is a really big document.
So thank you very much for your time. I think you're the only person, so we don't have to worry about that microphone anymore. But thank you very much for your time. I just want to mention that, the consultants that we were working with did give some tips for reading through the plan that you don't have to read 150, 160 pages. The areas you want to focus on are the objectives and strategies.
Yes.
There's actually 5 to 6 of the meatiest pages that you could really focus on. And I'm not sure, do we know what those page numbers
I don't
are?
remember the exact page numbers,
Right,
but in the
not sure.
presentation on, I think it was our February 15th town hall meeting.
Yeah.
The consultant walked through, if you have 10 minutes, if you have half an hour, if you have multiple hours to sit and read the whole document, they did give some instructions. So that's a great place to start.
And again, this is a culmination of an iterative process with the public. And while we understand that we did have, as you mentioned, much of the time was during a pandemic, we're still in a pandemic. We're not out of the woods yet. We see this uptick. We don't want to stop moving forward. So we're going to continue to work as best we can, hybrid in person. And we did have a number of in-person opportunities outdoors for people to engage with us at various events. We also tasked our steering committee with reaching out into the public, to their own communities, and speaking with their community members. And that's been part of the public input process, which is how we're getting to where we are. This is a culmination of public input. So that being said, I would now like to see if we have somebody. I think I see somebody named Donna with their hand raised. And Victoria, if you want to let Donna address us, and if you could introduce yourself with your name and address, and then you'll have 4 minutes to address the board. Thank you.
Hello, this is Donna Sharrett, 84 Morningside Drive. So I just had a few other comments on some of the parts. There is indeed a lot. So I would just like to add to, I think it's, if you looked at page 119 through 124, you would really get like a synopsis of all the different things that are proposed. It's like a graph, so that would be helpful to people. That seems, so you don't have to read the whole thing. In the section of open space and natural resources, there's a 3.1 is engaging, it talks about engaging the community to educate them about the natural resources. I would suggest to make it stronger, to develop outreach campaigns, just because a lot of the community doesn't really engage with the town. And I think there could be there needs to be more information, not just about natural resources, but about our laws and our regulations, because there doesn't seem to be an understanding of that for most of the public. This past Saturday, I had to go inside when it was a really nice day because one of my neighbors had somebody with 3 leaf blowers, which is definitely not to code. And then there was somebody else fertilizing their lawn, and that's against Westchester code. So it's, I think there just needs to be an outreach across the board to people so that they know about these laws. 4.1 talks about decreasing stormwater runoff. I think that it would be great to add an objective for the town to seek funding opportunities so that particularly the stormwater practices for North State Road businesses and some adjacent residential properties are not compliant, and some of them because it predates our current regs, but and it would probably be very hard for those businesses to come up with the funding to bring it into compliance. So if we could find funding opportunities, because all that water is going directly into Pecanico River tributary. It's a lot of water from all those surfaces. So that's an objective that I think would be good. It also, if it didn't go into that 4.1 for the in that open space natural resources, it might fit in sustainable infrastructure under 3.7. Then I am on the ARB and the planning board, and I am not speaking for either of those groups, but I would like to say as an ARB member, I think that the ARB's authority should be expanded. I think that should be at least looked into because I think that is kind of limited. So that I would suggest that.
Donna, you have a minute left.
Okay, the last thing I wanted to say, and of course, I'm going to bring up the EAC, and they don't know that I'm volunteering them, but I think it would be really great to bring the parks departments and the Park and Rec department and the EAC together whenever there's projects in the parks that have natural resources like trees or steep slopes or wetlands that if there's potential impact or even just the projects in the park. EAC is an amazing group. I'm the liaison for them. I was on the EAC and I'm the liaison for them. They're an amazing group of people. They're very creative and very passionate. So I think that would be great to bring those two departments together somehow, those two groups. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I apologize to the EAC for volunteering them.
Fair enough. All right, and next up, I see Aaron Norris.
Erin, you should be able to unmute and speak.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Norris. I'm at 12 Riverview Farm Road. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for your extensive work on this project. It's wonderful. I'm Donna. I'm not upset with you for volunteering. I'm on the EAC. So I just wanted to mention a few things that and for environment's sake, that I think should be added or incorporated into the comprehensive plan. I think it would be great if we add in the daylighting of streams. I think that would be a wonderful addition to our town, and it's something that we should do as much as possible. Another thing to point out is that as much as we love renewable energy, we have to remember that there's always a cost to it. So we don't want to bring down trees, and we don't want to destroy habitats and wetlands and steep slopes to put in solar farms. We should utilize buildings that are already constructed and put solar panels on those resources instead. So avoiding tree removal, avoiding disturbance of tree slopes, steep slopes, habitats, etc. And then the last thing that is not necessarily an EAC thing, but I think we should be working and including some way of strengthening the ordinances in our town and making sure that new residents are aware of them and current residents, and coming up with a way for enforcement of these people that don't abide by the ordinances. So I think there's a lot out there that people just don't realize. environmentally or otherwise. And I think this would be really, really helpful for everyone that lives here to know when something shouldn't be done. You shouldn't be emptying your roof water into a stream or onto somebody else's property, for example. And there should be consequences for doing something like that. So I think that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. Next up, I believe I see Mitzi Elks, also from the EAC.
Mitzi, you're good.
Hi. Good evening, Mitzi Elks, also on the EAC, and I'm not upset with Donna, but I don't believe a word she says about it. But thank you, Donna. But we also wanted to speak to Kim Jeffries brought up the open space issue and how it's very, it's a popular issue for the town, and I didn't see it in the plan, which is extensive and so impressive, I will add. But I didn't see an open space fund creation. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we would like to support that idea and to identify key parcels in the town that would be possible for future acquisition, meaning, to create possible open space corridor where there may be parcels that would then, once acquired, could be more woods to traverse through rather than maybe sidewalks. So to keep that in mind, key parcels. And I know it is mentioned it's on a map, I believe, in the comprehensive plan, the bird sanctuary, that it is adjacent. It's just parallel to Route 100 and the bike route down there, the Empire State Trail. And to maybe bring more attention to that bird sanctuary, to possibly create trails in that space, and just maybe have it, somehow highlighted as something that could be very enjoyable for the town as another open space. And then I talked about this in a breakout room where and I know it's mentioned quite a bit all over the comprehensive plan and complete street designs and, the business district. Similar to, dare I bring up a town such as Armonk, but the point that I would like to make is that they have these shopping plazas that are really cool. And I really could see that somehow being built into the design of the North State Road area, where you could have no traffic sections where people could meander and enjoy the business district that much more. So wanted to bring that concept. And is John Ladd on this call? Do you know?
Yeah.
No.
No,
Oh, no, sorry.
no, I don't think he's in the.
All right, I can wait till, he had some things that he wanted to talk about, but if I can wait. Can I come back if he doesn't?
You have a minute left, Mitzi.
All right, so the flood zone map, believe figure 18 flood zones, right, and on page 72, wetlands and hydric soils, to identify North State Road, to name that on the map, that would be helpful. Let's see, strengthen trees and wetlands ordinances. Erin spoke to that. The outreach to new residents regarding strengthening ordinances and having people be more aware of what those ordinances are and to remain in compliance. And also to add a watershed map. I don't believe that there's a watershed map that identifies the watersheds within the town of Ossining, which meaning the Sing Sing Kill, the Pecanico River watershed, and anything else that might apply. That was it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, we have a number of other attendees, and now is your moment if you would like to speak and add in something to the public hearing. You can also send us written comments and if you can send us written comments, if you have, if you're, camera shy or Zoom shy, we'll take them. And you can also call us on the telephone, 762-6001. That's in the 914 area code, and you have to dial 1914, which I always forget to do. Okay, not wearing my mask, you probably can't even hear half the things I'm saying. So anyway, yes, we continue to welcome comments, and our plan is to continue the public hearing. We're probably going to take a small break from hearing public comments until, I'm sorry, we're going to adjourn the public hearing to April 12th. And then we will have, hopefully by April 5th work session, have a revised draft of the plan for review by the town board and for discussion. The revised version will also be posted online for public review before the next public hearing. And depending upon comments received, we will potentially look to close the public hearing on at our April 12th legislative session. But again, right now we have at least a few more weeks for people to make comments. Obviously, sooner rather than later, so we can incorporate some of those comments into the revised draft. I'm going to give one more shout out to our Zoom public, our attendees. Is there anyone who would like to raise their virtual hand and be recognized to add comments to our public hearing on the draft comprehensive plan?
And I will also just note the best way to send in public comments is to email the town clerk. Her email address is sdonnelly@townofboston.com. It's also on our website, especially for comments like what we were hearing from our EAC with some comments of specific figures and items that may be somewhat simple and straightforward to edit. That would be much appreciated in writing.
And we would also like to thank the hundreds of community residents who have participated in this 2+ year project. We are really proud of the product of this effort to date. We look forward to finalizing something fantastic and putting it into practice. So with that, since I do not see any additional hands, if I could have a motion to adjourn the public hearing to our April 12th legislative session.
So
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Fantastic. Thank you so much. And with that, we are going to go into some announcements. So congratulations are in order, and thank you to our attendees, our in-person attendees. Very grateful for you coming. Congratulations are in order for Alice Joslow, Ossining Public Library Trustee and Ossining Communities That Care Director and Founder, who was recognized earlier this evening as a 2022 Shero by the Westchester County Youth Board and Bureau for her impact on children, youth, and families in Westchester County. And she has worked so hard on behalf of our youth. I was able to pop onto the event this evening for a short period of time and present a proclamation to Alice. Her whole family was there, as well as many members of the library board and the library director. So many of us have worked with Alice for many years, and we know that she continues to work hard to put protective factors in place for our youth and families. So we're grateful for all her good work, and congratulations to Alice. Thank you for all you do. This Friday, March 25th, the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club will continue their Friday talks with next steps for cleanup of Hudson River PCBs, led by Richard Webster, the legal program director for Riverkeeper. You can learn more about the work done to remediate the Hudson River, which has been designated as one of the nation's largest Superfund sites, with particular attention on the next phase and what it means for communities in our part of the river. Doors will open at 7 p.m. and the talk begins at 7:30 p.m. And yes, it is in person, obviously. Make it an OBCC weekend by stopping by the Fine Art and Craft Sale, a joint venture between OBCC and the Ossining Arts Council on Sunday, March 27th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Westchester Collaborative Theater will be presenting the latest installment of their 2022 Jazz Master Series with a performance by the Willie Martinez Latin Jazz Quartet on Saturday, March 26th at 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 7 p.m. and tickets are available now at wctheater.org. Registration for spring events and summer camp are open now with the Austin Recreation Department. Make sure to check out the latest offerings. We have links to enrollment via the supervisor's update under arts and enrichment. There are lots of fun programs on deck for the whole family, so be sure to check them out. Are there any other announcements from my board colleagues?
I think the deadline to get a booth at the annual Green Austin Fair is the end of this week.
Okay.
So
Birthday
Earth Day,
Festival,
so-
which is taking place on April 23rd. If anybody would like to apply for a booth, you can go to greenoustin.org. They also have a website, and we'll make sure if we have that information a little bit later on to make sure that we announce it.
And they also just announced, I believe, the tag sale will be May 7th. But anyway, it's time to sign up to sell your goodies in your recyclables,
Absolutely.
upcyclables.
Sounds good.
Get your Austin tag sale.
The other announcements? All right, hearing none. Before getting into the administrative update for this week, I need to acknowledge a disturbing incident that occurred the week before last. A hate symbol was found on the Park School playground. The Community Equity Task Force issued a statement in light of this and other recent incidents that make clear the need for, quote, proactive and sustained commitment to racial equity work both in and out of schools. The full statement is posted to our website and has been circulated to local media as a letter to the editor. You are invited to learn more and get involved in the Community Equity Task Force's work. Go to the email alert sign up page of the Town of Austin website, enter your name and email address, and then click Manage Subscriptions to add yourself to Community Equity Task Force listserv. Last week, we had our annual site inspection with our workers' comp carrier, New York Comp Alliance, and we received some great news. There were no workers' comp claims in the town all year in the entire year of 2021, which is great news. So huge thanks to our entire staff for taking the time to exercise caution and be safe in the workplace, as well as to our department heads, especially our Highway Superintendent, Pete Connolly, and Parks Foreman, Mario Velardo, for enforcing the town's safety protocols on a daily basis. This is good news for the town's bottom line, but it's also because it's so important to us that our staff shows up to work every day, happy, healthy, and safe with all their parts intact. So keep up the great work, everybody. Really good news. We've been working with the Village of Austin's Downtown Revitalization Initiative process, which currently has a call for project applications open through March 31st for organizations to seek grants under the $10 million awarded to the area of the Village of Austin by the state law. By the state late last year. The initial call for projects is fairly simple, as this process includes funding to help organizations flesh out the details of their requests before the projects are brought before the state for final approval. We, the town, are considering submitting a request for a project that we've kicked around for a long time, building new performance space at Lewis Angle Park. Our current stage does not meet our current needs, and it is not resilient against even the mildest of weather conditions because it has no cover and cannot be retrofitted for a cover because of the weather conditions. We also were successful at getting a community development block grant to move the comfort station, also known as the public bathrooms, creating more space near the current stage at Angle Park where we could expand the performance space. Even if we're not successful at obtaining any of the $10 million grant funding, it will be helpful for future grant opportunities to have this project mentioned in the Austin DRI plan. So with that, I just asked if the board has any questions about any. Okay. Speaking of Angle Park, another grant-funded project got underway today with tree maintenance under the DEC's Urban and Community Forestry Program. The selected contractor started today with pruning and unfortunately a few removals of trees that are not viable at Engle Park. The park is going to stay open during the work, but park goers, please exercise caution. Also happening at Engle today, there was cleanup of the waterfront, actually yesterday and today, final fixes on the kayak racks, or finishing touches, I should say, on the new kayak racks, and the docks are in. So, not that I was directing that to any particular council member. More work is still to be done, but a lot was done yesterday and today, so we're very excited about that, especially because we think there might be some not so perfect weather coming up the rest of this week. So with that, I ask if there are any liaison reports. And hearing none, we get to move into our departmental reports. And we have up next our engineering and infrastructure project management dynamic duo, Paul Frioli and Andy Teese, for their departmental report. Paul and Andy, thanks for joining us on Zoom.
Good evening. Good evening. I'll start first if that's okay. A few projects we're working on. It's going pretty well. Right now, we're concentrating on Cedar Lane Park, the Shine House. I know that there was a grant that the town received, and that money is going to be used towards some upgrades there, including new HVAC, and which was the lowest bidder was Clean Air Quality for $19,315, and then bringing a 400 amp panel in because the electric is undersized there, and that was PRM Electric, and that's the annual bidder, and that's at $23,845. So those are two necessary upgrades because that panel is quite full right now. Also at that same location, we have a company by the name of GPRS Location Utility Services. They're showing up this Friday, and they will be locating our sewer infrastructure that's that is on that whole piece of property alongside the existing infrastructure that's there. It's imperative that we locate that if we decide to move forward with pumping our own sewage out of that system into our force main that the town owns. And Merritt's landscaping, or not landscaping, Merritt's land surveying, Dan Merritt's, his company, local company, he'll be on site hopefully that day, if not the following week, to locate those, to put those, to shoot those individual locations so that he can map them. We want to make sure that we know exactly where the infrastructure is and we're not on Newcastle property, and so we can move forward. So quite a bit of work, and Dan Ciarcia is working with me on that as well.
All right.
That's kind of busy.
No, it's about senior kitchen, right? We're just waiting for the.
Yeah, we issued the purchase order for the equipment at the senior kitchen, and we're waiting for, an anticipated delivery date, which could be a few months out, and working with our architects to layer in a plan for how we can bring in our annual bidders and use some in-house labor to get that project up and running. So hopefully it won't take a million months for that equipment to come in, but you never really know right now.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks so much, Andy, and
Thank you.
you're up.
Good evening, Supervisor and Town Board. I'm going to discuss two projects with you this evening. I'm going to start off with the McCarthy Drive project, for which you're all familiar. We started that last year. It's a capital project that was big. The scope of that project, the bid and budget of that project was just under $2 million. Actual contract award was for 1.8 some odd million dollars to the contractor Montesano. It was a one prime contractor contract, and we started out last year knowing that we'd probably be in a position where we would be doing the restoration and top course paving this spring. That was always the plan. We were actually ahead of schedule, and I'll keep it short here. We ran into a lot of issues with the utility company, primarily the electrical service with Con Edison. We worked through a lot of those. Some of them are still there, but they've committed to finish it up this month. So we're still working around them, but in concert at this point. And we still look to get back on track with restoration work on that project in April. And if all hold as presently committed to by the utility companies and the contractor, we should be substantially complete by the end of May. One thing we're going to do, if you're familiar with what we've been doing to date, is Victoria Caparelli has been sending out blasts to the residents. Email blast, and that's a resident that gets updates on the project. Soliciting interaction with my office to coordinate at the individual homes. Not everybody is going to need a field meeting, but some people do, because there were some structures and driveway transition work that we needed to do that was a little more complex on some houses than others, but it's all within the right of way. It's all within the contract. And right now the contract is still within budget. There were a lot of changes, as you know, in the field for the grading issues that we had to redo with the utility company conflict. On one hand, that cost us extra money with some of the utility relocation, but then it saved us some money on the amount we had to cut the road down. So, you know, that's a constant balancing act, but we're still under budget in most lines. We look to bring that project to completion by the first instance.
Paul, we're having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry?
You're breaking up a lot. So if there's other people in your house using your internet, you might want to ask them for like 5 minutes. Maybe.
Or shut your video off.
Or shut-
Yeah, I'll try to shut the video.
Still can't hear.
You didn't turn the video off.
Nobody home.
There's nobody home. Okay.
Someone keeps telling me to take my phone off.
Yeah, I take my phone off.
If this helps,
I don't know. We're still seeing.
is that better?
You're frozen.
Okay.
Now,
Okay. Now try talking.
Can you hear me now?
It's still sounding like.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'll log off and I'll try to call back in from my phone. I'm gonna try to call back in from my phone.
Okay, we're actually
We're
hearing you
hearing you
now.
right now.
Oh. Well, what he was saying about the McCarthy Drive project,
Yes.
yes, gets on, is we have an email distribution list that we send updates to the residents on the road. We ask them to sign up for the beginning of the construction. And so I think with some of the work that's coming up with the restoration of the driveways and front lawns, we're going to be sending out an update that's coming up. Not all of the property owners are going to require site visits because the work to restore their properties is fairly minimal, is my understanding, but some it's a little more extensive. So he'll be working on that. Got better.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
You're muted.
Is he?
Is that better?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
Okay, great. I'm not sure where I got cut off.
You're saying something about the residents need a DOB or something.
Okay, so we're gonna send out through the supervisor's office, the update blast, and that's gonna include contact information for me. I've already contacted majority of the residents that we need to have individual meetings with for the interface restoration with the new road grade. That's going off fairly well. Some of them are a little more complex than others, but as you know, in the contract, there was a miscellaneous additional work component that will absorb all those costs. And again, even with the delays, we're still under the allotted borrow for that project. And it is really turning out very nicely. And it's a project that was well worth it, particularly with its stormwater component. And the fact that by default, most folks are getting new electric services too, because Con Ed found a lot of issues with their line during the project. And they're getting that all done now, and they got a new water main under the ground. So the reasons why you would dig up a road are being limited as we do the restoration work. So that's a good thing. And with the blacktop plants opening up next month, we should be ready for that with the restoration again for that end of May completion goal for substantial completion. As you know, with that project, there was there's no request for additional funding. Similar to the other project I'm going to talk about, Morningside and the paving there. That project was created with a purchase order last year, so there's not going to be any resolution for funding for that project. There's leftover money in the purchase order as expected, because we only completed a little less than half of that scope. Last year, we undertook Morningside from Chappaqua Road to Ryder Avenue. And next month, we look to undertake Ryder Avenue to the town limits at Newcastle. In addition to that run, we are also going to incorporate Morningside Court, which I believe you all know is the cul-de-sac off of the Newcastle end of Morningside. We're going to mill and pave that road as well when we do Morningside. Again, it's the linear footage is a little longer on that job, so we'll take a little more pavement, but what's not in that component is a lot of the stormwater improvements that we made are not really necessary on the other side. There will be some restoration work on the catch basins and such prior to paving, but there won't be the new basins and the new drainage that we needed to add on the Briarcliff side and Morningside that we did last year. That turned out nicely. Following the paving, Superintendent Connolly followed through with putting a double yellow line on the road. And I know once the finished job is done on both ends of Ryder, he's also going to incorporate a fog line on either side of the curb. On either side of the road when that project is completed. That'll serve a number of reasons, basically to identify the curb line, but it also serves as, to some extent, speed control. And if you happen to be on there with a bike or you're a pedestrian, it does offer you some levels of protection versus not having anything there at all. So that's always a good facet to have on your road. Again, the blacktop plants will open up, and that's really going to dictate the actual schedule. But again, we're looking to bring that in sometime in May. It's a full mill and overlay replacement, as was the detail for the other job. I think I mentioned that project as well was money borrowed from last year. What I did want to add to, and the supervisor's office might want to expand on this because we're just talking about it today, but the PO for that Morningside project was a combination of CHIPS funding, fund balance transfer, and most importantly, a multimodal grant that was secured with the assistance of Sandy Galiff's office. So those are the two main road projects we're working on this year.
I don't think you anything to elaborate on it. Great job. Thank you for explaining. And yeah, that multimodal funding has been sort of in the works for a number of years, and we're glad that we were able to spend it and fully spend it by utilizing MWBE firm for the curbing. So very, very grateful. Yeah. Yay. And yes, we have some inside knowledge of that. So that's fantastic. Are there any questions from the town board on any of these projects for either Paul Randy?
Are we continuing the curbing or no? You don't need that for stormwater on the other end.
Paul, did you hear that question for you?
You're muted.
Paul, we can't hear you. You're not muted, but we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay. There are some there's some touch-up work and some curb work that we'll do with blacktop around some of the existing catch basins to help establish a grade there to the catch basins. But the concrete detail isn't really necessary on the other side. It was more of a necessity on the side where you had a lot of the grade and the front yard issues that require the curb there
Thank you.
versus the Newcastle side.
And also a reminder that we use low carbon concrete for all this. First, I would say this is the first larger project where we did that.
Will that hold up to the snowplow just as well?
Go look at it and you'll see. Isn't it? I think so far so good. All right. So with that, thank you guys so much for joining us this evening, and we are on to our next departmental report from our building inspector, John Hamilton.
Good night.
Hi, good evening. You know mine, I try to go as quick as I can for you. From January 1 to now, we've issued 86 permits, 24 title searches, 5 tree permits, and 153 inspections. Our revenue line right now is $31,140. I took a look at some of the, let me say two. We're starting our mandatory training programs in April. So we have 24 hours of in-class, in-person training that we'll be doing. And then we'll be doing hopefully some classes on Zoom to get more information as we go along. We've completed the New York Stretch residential inspections program, and we're about to start the commercial one. And today we took a course in third-party inspection procedures that the state is starting to institute. It's voluntary, but it looks interesting. And we can actually become these third-party inspectors, believe it or not. But it was very informative, the class, and they give some great incentives for the municipalities to join in on it. I looked at some of the planning issues. Parth Knowles is, from what I'm seeing with them, their completeness is review of the draft EIS statement. The Pacucci subdivision right now is going for a public hearing. The 68 Somerstown Road is having a public hearing also, I'm sorry. And the 5 Hawks Avenue one lot house is having a continuation of their public hearing. Ones that are almost done, I guess, is St. Augustine's for the Borrego Battery Solar Project. The Rinaldi subdivision on 39 Stormytown, 9 houses, they're going now before the Board of Health. 83 Somerstown, the ones that had the sand in the lake there, they're working with planning. So it's been busy, and we're starting now to do a lot more training, and we're moving along. That's it.
I think our building inspector might have misspoke when he said Parth Knowles. Did you mean River Knoll, John?
Oh, I beg your pardon, River Knoll. I apologize. River Knoll, even with glasses on, River Knoll.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also the solar switches.
Borrego? Borrego?
No, not Borrego. No,
Mary Knoll.
Eco-G, Mary Knoll.
Mary Knoll has their CO.
Yes, I think weren't they just waiting to flip the switch for your final
Well,
approval?
they had to put up a guardrail, then they had to get a final engineering certification. They submitted all that, and we issued their certificate, I think about last week.
Okay, great.
So they're all finished with the town.
All right. Fantastic.
What's it, 68 Somerstown? What's it, 68 Somerstown?
68 Summertown is before the architectural review board for one house, and they're scheduled now for their public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions from the board for our building inspector?
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very, very much. Were you going to give us a comparison as to the where we were compared to other years? I thought you started to say, I looked at, no, I thought you were to say that, no.
You're kind of faint. I'm sorry. What was that?
I was saying, were you going to give us, I thought you were giving us at the beginning when you were saying $31,000 permit fees to date. And this, you gave us the update. I thought you were going to.
Well, Yeah, I think that we're moving pretty well. For example, I just signed a building permit for GE. They're going to redo their entire hot water system. So that's running them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're getting like $8,500 just for that one alone. So revenue line, we seem to be right on track, or maybe a little better.
Great. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you very much. And thanks for taking your time this evening, and enjoy the fact that you are not here and you are there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks so much, John. Up next, we have our public comment on agenda items only. So if you would like to comment on something on our board resolutions that we're about to discuss and vote on, please raise your virtual hand, as we have lost our in-person audience, but we still have a few attendees virtually. So if there's anybody who wanted to comment on anything on the budget, please raise your hand. Seeing no virtual hands raised, I will turn it over to Martha Kudisanka to go through the board resolutions.
Okay, approval of minutes, regular meeting, March 8th, 2022. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the March 8th, 2022 minutes of the regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion? Oh,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated March 22nd, 2022 in the amount of $477,741.27.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 2021 year-end budget adjustments. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin approves the following budget adjustments for the year end 2021.
Second.
Okay, so we continue to clean up our books for 2021 with a few, hopefully last minor budget adjustments to approve. Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Support for New York State Senate Bill S 8432 in relation to emergency medical services in New York State. Whereas New York State Senator Shelley Meyer has introduced proposed state legislation S 8432 entitled An Act to Amend the General Municipal Law, the Civil Service Law, the Retirement and Social Security Law, and the Public Health Law in relation to emergency medical services, which legislation would define emergency medical services and ambulance services as essential services that must be available to everyone in New York State in a reliable manner, expand benefits available to emergency medical services personnel, and set standards for emergency and medical services and training of emergency medical services personnel. And whereas the town board of the town of Austin recognizes the many concerns related to the delivery of emergency medical services throughout the county, state, and nation that involve such issues as staff recruitment and retention, the lack of access to alternative revenues such as grants and adequate insurance programs, training opportunities, and clear standards for agencies providing emergency medical services. And whereas emergency medical service agencies provide an essential service that should provide equal access to those in need of such services and also provide essential early intervention healthcare to patients. And whereas the town board of the town of Austin believes that S 8432 is a good first step to resolve the current crisis facing the emergency medical services community. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Austin supports the enactment of S 8432, and be it further resolved that upon approval, copies of this resolution shall be forwarded to Assemblywoman Sandra Gala, State Senator Elijah Eichlin Melnick, and State Senator Shelley Meyer, the sponsor of S 8432.
Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions? All for it. Okay, so it is shocking to know that emergency medical services are still not considered essential services in New York State. Here in Austin, we take for granted the excellent services that we receive from the Austin Volunteer Ambulance Corps, but this is not the norm across the state, and something must be done to assist these vital agencies to stay afloat. We thank our village manager, Karen Dottori, for bringing this to our attention, and we urge the New York State Legislature to adopt this bill. With that said, I think we might have a couple of abstentions. This is complicated board, but all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions?
I say.
That's what I thought you meant. Okay, thank you. Even though we know your heart is there.
I understand.
Totally understand. Your need to abstain. Okay.
Okay,
Yes, go ahead.
just to clarify, just Councilmember Myers abstaining, correct?
Yeah,
No,
I'm abstaining.
yes, he's abstaining and also Councilwoman Fields too is abstaining.
Yes, okay, thank you. I did not hear that part. I think her microphone was just a little bit lower than the rest. I couldn't hear her. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay. Permission to sell alcohol at Town of Boston Earth Day. Resolved that the Captain Lawrence Brewing Company, 6 Degrees or Less Brewery, and Sing Sing Kill Brewery are each authorized to operate a concession stand during the Earth Day event held on April 23rd, 2022 at the Lois Angle Waterfront Park in the Town of Boston, and to sell for consumption by persons over 21 years of age at the event the company's beer products. Captain Lawrence Brewing Company, 6 Degrees or Less Brewery, and Sing Sing Kill Brewery will obtain with consent from the town all necessary permits, including an event permit from the New York State Liquor Authority, and will provide proof of insurance and the letter of indemnity to the town in a form acceptable to council to the town.
do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mark your calendars for April 23rd, as previously mentioned, for the return of our annual Earth Day celebration in person. For those 21 and over, we will be raising a glass of some craft beer with returning vendors Sing Sing Kill Brewery, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company, and 6 Degrees or Less Brewery. But first, these vendors need the permission from the town board to do so. So thank you to the incredible Susie Ross for her hard work organizing such a fantastic event, and her whole team of Green Ossining. We cannot wait. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Appointment Town Planning Board. Resolved that the town board of the town of Boston hereby appoint Nicholas Emmanuel Enriquez to fill an unexpired term on the town planning board to expire on December 31st, 2023.
Second.
So with the recent resignation of Jesus Lopez from his position on the planning board, we are very pleased to be appointing Manny Enriquez, who currently serves on our zoning board, to this vacant position. Many thanks to Manny for stepping up yet again. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Appointment Town Planning Board alternate position. Resolved that the town board of the town of Boston hereby appoints Jason Menker to the alternative position of the town planning board for a one-year term to expire March 31st, 2023.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I thought we had Jason on here before, but I see him no longer. So we are very happy to have be appointing Jason to the position of planning board alternate, which has been vacant for some time. And also, he most recently served on our comprehensive plan steering committee. And so Jason brings a great deal of professional knowledge in the planning field to the board. Thank you, Jason, for once again stepping up, even though you're not really here, but hopefully you'll be watching us when you have time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Request for proposals, meals for the elderly nutrition program. Resolved that the town board of the town of Boston hereby issues a request for proposals for the preparation of meals for the elderly nutrition program and related supplies with proposals due back to the office of the town clerk by 10 a.m. on Thursday, April 7th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
So our current contract for our senior nutrition program, we don't like to call it elderly, just age challenged, caterer has come to an end. So we need to go out to bid for another contract, and that is what we are resolving to do this evening. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Resolution adoption of EAF Part 2 for the draft comprehensive plan, whereas for more than 2 years, the town board, with the assistance of the steering committee, comprised of town residents, stakeholders, and officials, have been preparing a new comprehensive plan with public input and participation. And whereas the draft comprehensive plan was made available to the public in early February 2022, and the town board has been soliciting, receiving, and considering comments from the public on the draft comprehensive plan since that time. And whereas the town board opened a duly noticed public hearing on the comprehensive plan at its March 8th, 2022 meeting, which public hearing remains open. And whereas the town board is a lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SCQRA, for the consideration of the comprehensive plan. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board as lead agency hereby adopts the SCQRA Environmental Assessment Form Part 2.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So as we continue our public hearing process on the comp plan, we are approving tonight the environmental assessment form part 2 on the plan. Council Adana, can you please explain in more detail what this means as part of the review process?
Yeah, so as it's stated in the resolution, the town board is lead agency for the consideration of the adoption of the comp plan, mostly because you're the only involved agency, meaning you're the only one with discretionary approval in order to make that determination. So you have to go through the secret process. At the about, I would say, a month ago or so, you acknowledged that an environmental assessment form part 1 had been prepared by WXI, the town's planning consultants for the comp plan, which basically goes through all of the different environmental areas and provides information about those potential impacts. So the EAF part 2, which is what the board is considering tonight, is the lead agency's document. And what that does is it identifies those environmental areas that have potentially moderate to large impacts from this proposed project. There are not any of those types of impacts that have been identified, mostly because the comprehensive plan, as we've talked about in the past, in and of itself doesn't actually do anything. It's the guiding policy document of the town. So that'll be the starting off point for when the town board does go to consider putting zoning in place. And so at that point in time, there will be a lengthier and more comprehensive secret review. So this is just another step in the secret process in order to keep the comp plan review process going forward.
Are there any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, monthly reports. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following monthly report for the months of January and February 2022, town building department.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Correspondence to be received and filed. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following correspondence: town planning board minutes, February 16th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And with that, we have an opportunity for visitor recognition on any topic whatsoever. And you will be afforded a 4-minute opportunity to speak. I see a hand from one Ms. Donna Sharrett.
Donna, you are allowed to.
Hi. I hope my computer doesn't go out. I'm having streaming issues, but I just would like to respectfully disagree with Mr. Frioli. I've had stormwater issues. I'm on Morningside Drive. I've had them for this whole 16 years that I've lived there. How it's been resolved is they put a asphalt curb berm by my property, which has helped. The problem is that if there's a big snowstorm, that does not hold up to a plow. So my husband and I put up the snow markers, and I've hauled rocks up to the top of the road to try to keep water from eroding the hill. It's been explained to me, Mr. Connolly came out, he's great, and so is the highway department, so I'm not saying anything against anybody, but it was explained to me that that was budgeted for the one part of Morningside Drive and not our part of Morningside Drive. So I would just like it to be made clear, because I've been fighting for 16 years for a concrete curb. So I just want to make clear that there are stormwater issues beyond Ryder Road. So that's my comment, and that's it.
Anybody else who would like to have this opportunity to make a comment? All right, hearing none, might I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for personnel?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for joining us. Next week is, roll please, Tuesday. Woo, woo, woo. That means?
No.
It means we don't have a
We don't have a
meeting.
meeting. Oh.
we don't have meetings on fifth Tuesdays, unless we
Actually,
do.
another-
Every once in a while we do. But there is a fifth Tuesday of the month of March, so we do not have town board meetings scheduled. We will be back on April 5th with a work session, also in a hybrid format with members of the public able to join in person at 16 Croton Avenue or via Zoom. We wish you all a wonderful 2 weeks. I still don't know where to look. I'm looking mostly at the Zoom, but I really need to be looking there. So have a wonderful 2 weeks, everybody. We really enjoyed having a few of you in public tonight in person.